All right, lovelies. Today we have a bit of an indie mishmash mashup. Whew. And I'm excited to just get to sit here, swatch the makeup with you, give you my thoughts, my opinions. I had a few things that I wanted to address, share with you, and I didn't feel like any of them really would be worth a video on their own, but I thought together we could just come and play with some indie makeup. So I hope that you enjoy this. And if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown on what my thoughts are for today. I will try to have all of this time-stamped in case there's just one of these things that you're interested in, but please feel free to enjoy this video in its entirety, of course. So the first thing that I wanted to do, recently I did use this palette, the Nomad Verona palette, and I talked to you about how I felt like the shimmers were incredibly hard pressed and just not quite what I had been hoping for. And indeed, as I noted in that video, the brand had mentioned that they had had some issues unexpectedly and some of the palettes had extra hard pressed pans and they were offering to send out the singles. So they did indeed send me over the singles, and you know what? I did say that I was gifted with this palette, but I don't know if I actually said that I was added to the PR list. So I do have a code. It is not affiliated. It is Keep Beauty Real. If you do want to save on your Nomad purchases, but I was like, did I even mention that? I just feel like I want to mention all of that up front so that you know I don't make any money off of you using the code, but I'm glad that I can give you a way to save. So they did send me over all of the singles. They're right here. I have not popped them in the palette yet. I have been talking to a couple friends who are pretty good with palette surgery, trying to decide if I'm actually going to give that a go. That's another whole little thing. But we're going to do swatch comparisons of these to see really, I'm gonna give you the thoughts on the textures, the impact, and even just the way that the pan feels, because those two shades that I used in the last video, they already have quite a bit of hard pan. So we're just gonna kind of do a little science experiment today. So we'll do some swatch comparisons. Another thing that we're gonna be doing is going over my recent Devinah purchase. I did share it in my stories on Instagram the other day. So I did purchase the Winter of the Wicked bundle. So this is that beautiful blue color story. I had one of these shades already, so I just flipped it out into here. When I decided to go ahead and pick up this little blue bundle, I was like, you know what? I just want to kind of look and see what else is available. I love the Devinah mattes. There were a few shimmers that were catching my eye. I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy a few things. And while I have been gifted things from Devinah in the past, this was purchased by me. So just know that I did spend my own money on this. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to the ones that I purchased, although I do feel like there are a couple cohesive color stories in there. So we're just gonna do a little swatch party with that. Now, what we're gonna do for popping some makeup on my eyes today is I'm actually gonna be using a brand that I have never purchased anything from before, and this is the time I decided to. And we'll have to see if I have some regrets. So I did purchase the Adept Cosmetics mystery box. I know that a lot of people have already reviewed this, done looks, etc., etc. I did just want to give my quick take on it because I haven't bought anything from the brand before. I did put a poll up on Instagram as to whether or not people wanted to see it. So I do have the palette here. We're gonna do a look with that today. And then I also, we'll talk about this whole thing, but this big old bundle of liners, I am not going to swatch all of them for you because I just don't want to keep all of them. So we're gonna do a look featuring this palette and then also, hopefully, some of the liners, or at least one of the liners. This big, huge thing. I have picked out 2 liners to swatch and keep. We'll see how I feel about those if I decide to keep any more of these, but I have thoughts. I have all the thoughts, a lot of the same thoughts that other people have, but I haven't even touched any of these yet. So that's gonna be what we're doing today. We have a lot to get into, so let's do it right now. All right, let's go ahead and get something on these naked eyelids. So right now I'm going to swatch a few of these things. I'm gonna swatch the liners, swatch a few of the shadows, just to kind of get a feel for what I wanna do, and we can sort of talk about my thoughts on this whole mystery box launch. Now you all had to know, that I was maybe gonna get drawn into this. If you're not new to my channel, you know I am a big sucker. I'm a big sucker for mystery boxes, bags, whatever you wanna call it. And I just got drawn in, and I was talking to someone about the potential of what was gonna be in here. And it's like, okay, well, 9 new products, that's super exciting. I know that they have blushes, and I was like, ooh, maybe there'll be a blush in there. Maybe they're gonna do highlights, all these things. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. I'm gonna give it a go. When they did the sneak peek of the palette and they showed the bottom row, I was like, okay, I haven't bought anything that has, more of these bluey greeny shades recently. And I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And then seeing the rest of the palette, it is all mattes. I do feel like this is a little bit matte heavy for what I was hoping for, but I do think that they are all very usable mattes. Are they good quality? I don't know, we're gonna find out. Before we swatch some of the shadows, I do want to test out these two liners, see what the colors are like. Now, I did go ahead again and pick out two shades. I'm being very selective because I have quite a few liquid and gel eyeliners over here in my drawer, and I just don't reach for them that much. Not even that I don't want to, it's just that I don't think of it. And so I just know for myself, it would just be a waste to open up all of these liners and swatch them for you. So this is the one that I was really looking forward to. I believe this is supposed to be Lieutenant Barclay, if that's a reference to something. I am not one of the cool kids, evidently, because I don't know what it is referencing to, but to me, this looked like, honestly, it looked like a version of the Sydney Grace Cream Shadow in Dragonfly, where it would have this green into almost like a rose goldy pinky shift. I'm gonna do a pretty big wide swatch here. Well, wide for a liquid liner, you know what I'm saying? And then the other one that I chose is Rom, and this looked to be, in the pictures, it looked to be like a silvery taupey metallic. Oh, this, okay. Do I think this is going to be a pretty shade? Yes. Do I think it's what it looked like in the pictures on the website? No. Now, I have not looked, I have not watched any videos on this collection of liners. I have not watched anybody like with their mystery boxes at all, because I like to have sort of my own opinion, but I feel like that's really misrepresentative. So let me see if I can like maybe turn this down just a bit so that we can get, so you can see there in that, like, I should have probably done it over the curve of my hand, but you can see where that green goes into that. I wouldn't even say it's like, it's not as rosy as what it looked like on the eye on the imagery. It's like a green into lighter green and almost like a copper. But the Rom shade, honestly, it looked like a silvery taupey shade. I might actually like this better than what I was thinking, but it's like a rosy, brown, silvery. These are not at all what I thought they were going to be. They're pretty, but I mean, this Rom shade is going to have to be used like, oh, see now here, it does look like slightly rosy in that shift. I don't know, but I feel like that Rom shade is going to have to be used like on its own, you know, like it's not gonna pick up very well. I think it could make, I mean, it might make a beautiful little like subtle liner look. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to try these out a little bit. I think it's interesting. It's maybe just not what I was thinking. It really looked more like a mix between a nude and a like a silvery, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I will have probably posted the picture by now. So anyway, that's what we're working with that. Now let's go ahead and swatch a couple of these shades. Okay, so right away, I'm going to swatch Santa Monica Boulevard, not only because I think that the shade looks really pretty, but I've actually spent a lot of time on Santa Monica Boulevard in the last year because I've had to go out to Santa Monica for work quite a bit. And then also, let's do, oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna do Manhattan Beach. I was gonna say the PCH just because I think that that's such a beautiful drive, but, oh, okay. So you have one that is definitely more like multi-chrome, and then, I mean, I guess it's technically still multi-chrome. It's more like duochrome with a lot of like reflectivity to it. They definitely have a different feel from each other. So I would say that Santa Monica Boulevard, oh no, that is more multi-chrome. So Santa Monica Boulevard has a little bit thicker and slightly more gritty feel because of the sparkles, but then the Manhattan Beach is much more smooth. It almost reminds me of those liquidy, not liquidy, like the more creamy colors in the Danessa Myricks palette, you know, like where it's like that really creamy feel in her original one with the eyeshadows. Is that Infinite Light? You know the one that I'm talking about, but that's very pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and touch some of these mattes now. I have a feeling today I'm gonna be pretty basic with this look, just because I put on minimal makeup. I don't want to do anything too fussy. I just kind of want to get a feel for the shadows. So let's go ahead. Inglewood is the nude shade. It's like the medium, slightly warmer nude. And then we'll go through with Hawthorne, which is the dark brown. They feel nice. They don't feel like anything overly special. Hawthorne feels a little on the dry, powdery side, and Inglewood felt a little bit more like soft and not creamy. These are definitely of like that dry formula, but I do have to say, I mean, I feel like of these three, one of these could have been replaced, and I feel like of these two, one of them could have been replaced. This one definitely has more of like a plummy, like almost like violet rose undertone, and this is more of like a neutral, but I don't know, that's just me. So we're just gonna play a little bit. Am I going to pull in one of these? I'm not really sure what I'm gonna end up with here, because I do want to use that liner. So we'll have to see how I can kind of like incorporate a little bit of all the things without looking a little too crazy. I'm not really quite sure where I'm gonna go with this. I am just kind of looking to get a little dip into this to see how I feel about the shadows, but I do wanna try out the liner too. So I'm just gonna pop some music on. This again is just gonna go pretty quick, hopefully, and I will see you in a moment. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I am trying to like scrub off these liners with with a makeup wipe, and I can tell already that these are gonna be really long wearing. So I'm slightly more excited about that. We'll see how they do on the eyes. Okay, I'm just gonna pause here for a moment. I realize that I'm using like really kind of basic colors, right? I've got like a very, very nude on the eye and the dark brown. And I'm trying to make the darkest brown into something that's like a little bit lighter because I don't want anything extreme. I really want to showcase the liner. I'm just not loving this experience. Like, I mean, the lighter shade, it seemed to go on nicely, but maybe I just thought that because it is so close to like my eyelid skin that it seemed fine. But the darker shade, it just seemed to blend out. I don't even want to say patchy, but like murky, chalky. I don't know. I'm going to take a little bit of this. I don't really want to put this shade on, but I need something more like mid-tone. So I'm going to take a little bit of the Supple Vita Boulevard and just see if like running, maybe it's just that I'm going from like so dark to so light. I don't want to say I'm struggling with this, but I'm really not like loving it. You know, I mean, I spent $135 on this box. Now granted, I have 8 liners in here. Okay, I mean, I have to say I'm not loving this matte formula so far. I don't know, hopefully the shimmers are better, but I have a feeling I'm probably just gonna end up popping one on my inner corner because now I want to use that liner. I'm gonna use this Lieutenant Barclay shade and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so far so good. So I have to say I'm not always a huge fan of a really short applicator, like as far as like the handle of the applicator, because you're just kind of so close that sometimes it's hard to see what you're doing, like your hand almost gets in the way. But it also means, you know, the closer you are, the more control you have. Like if you're further away, like like an eyeshadow. The further away you are, the more softly you're gonna be blending. You are a little further away, so it's hard to like stay really tight and controlled. So I think that that's a plus and a con depending. The brush seemed to work okay. It's nothing fancy. The eyeliner went on just fine. No shrinky dinking. You know, sometimes with liquid liner, if you don't have like 5-year-old eyelids, over time as it dries, they can sort of start to like scrunch up. And I'm not really seeing any of that yet. I don't think that this is like a most cohesive look, but we're just gonna run with it. I'm gonna do the other eye. All right, so here we have the finished liner. Honestly, I have to say I really like this liner. Like, it went on really nicely, really smoothly. I do see just a little bit of crinkling here, but honestly, that's my eyelids. Like, it didn't crinkle as in like it changes the shape of the liner. I've had that happen sometimes with some eyeliners because they shrink up. It's just, you know, I'm a 40-year-old woman and I don't have flat eyelid skin. So I don't mind that at all. So now I'm gonna go ahead and pop one of the shimmer shades on my inner corner. I think I'm liking this kind of like matte feel. It'll give me a good idea on the liner. So we'll just get a little bit of sparkle on the inner corner, and I'll probably run a color on my lower lash line. I don't have any concealer on because I didn't know where we were gonna go with the look, and I didn't wanna have a bunch of shimmery fallout all over. So I'll probably pop some concealer on after we do this inner corner. So I'm just gonna take a pencil brush. Let's see, we'll go ahead with the Sigma E30. I think I'm just gonna take, okay, let's take this Manhattan Beach shade. That's the one that I swatched out. I did go ahead and swatch out one of the other shades while I was just kind of like playing around, deciding what I was gonna do. And I feel like the shimmers in here are multiple textures. The ones that have more glitter to them seem to be that very smushy kind of feel, like not the wet feel like this one is, but the more smushy, slightly, I'm just gonna keep saying smushy feel. So I'm kind of neither here nor there. Those shades usually don't last on me that long for some reason. I don't have really crazy oily eyelids. I usually don't use a primer on my eyes at all, but those, they just don't usually play with me very well. But we'll go ahead and pop this shade on. I just felt like this was gonna be the one that, you know, sort of goes with the liner. Wow, the one thing I will say about this is a little bit of this shade goes a long way. I did not anticipate. It just keeps spreading and spreading. But like I said, it feels like that super hyper creamy feel, like the Danessa Myricks. So I guess we're just gonna blend this into the lid. Why not? Okay, I'm gonna pop a little bit of this just above that liner. And I'm gonna see if I can just take, let's just take a naked brush. This one's stained, but this is just a naked brush. And I'm just gonna kind of like feather that color over and in. It's different. It's a different look for me. This is really about like testing out these products, so that's okay. Now we'll do the other side, and then I might just pop a little concealer on, do some mascara. I'll be back. All right, here we have the finished look. So I did go through and did some concealer. I did decide to clean up a little bit of that shimmer shade that had gone, like it just like spread itself. So I wanted it just a little tighter, and I like it like that. I think that it actually worked to just like blur it into the mattes. This worked. It's a look that I wouldn't necessarily have like put together normally, but I think it works. And I did feel like more so because of the concealer that I put on, my skin just felt like a little bit dry, or it looked a little bit dry. So I just threw some Fix Plus over the top of everything in case I look a little glowier, and threw on this little sample of the Rare Beauty Balm. So I definitely have some thoughts. Let's go ahead and zoom out and I will share them with you. Okay, so my first Adept purchase. How am I feeling? I mean, disappointed, honestly. And I have to say, like, not even just disappointed in the box itself. I mean, that to me, that was a miss. I really don't understand what the brand was thinking. Like, eyeliners are gonna be one of those things that people, even if they use them, I don't think that they need 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that this has all been said. I have to say, as far as the eyeliners go, I think that they're actually really great. I just wanted to pull up the prices on these because I don't even know what they are full price. Let me just check. Okay, so these are $17 at full price. I think that that's decent. I mean, depending on the color that you get, I don't think that like buying the black one is necessarily worth it. because I think you can get like more liner or like a different liner for less. But some of these other colors might be nice. I have to say, I think that for me, this was more of the standout than the eyeshadow palette, and I'll talk about that, but I do like these. I have a feeling this is gonna wear really, really well. I will go ahead and make sure to update you down in a pinned comment, so make sure you check that out. But I mean, it looks great. It went on easy. These are fresh. I will have to see like how quickly they dry, things like that. I will definitely have to use this ROM shade. I'll probably pop it on for a look on Instagram, so make sure you're following over there if you want to know my thoughts more. But I am slightly tempted to like keep one or two more of these, but I'm not going to, just because I know that I just won't use them frequently enough. And when I was like looking at the colors, it was like, there's like the other green, which I think is going to be pretty close to this one, so it's not necessarily something I need. There was like the blue purple, which is just not up my alley. You know, some of those things I'd rather just put these in giveaways and have more people enjoy them. But I do think that this for me is where the value was in this box. The only thing is like, so the eyeliners themselves, I think the box was $135, and the eyeliners themselves come up to $138. If you're going to keep and use all of these, your value is right there, and the palette was a bonus if you want to look at it like that. But I won't use and keep all of these. So most of the Adept like 12 pan palettes run around the $56 range. Like you have some that are a little bit more, some that are a little less, some that are on sale. But there are usually more shimmers in those, I feel like. Granted, this is a 15 pan palette, so if you think that like, let's say the value of this was somewhere in that $50, $60 range, would I spend $50 or $60 on this palette? No. No, I would not. Just from first impressions, I just wasn't wowed. This did not blow my skirt up. Now, obviously I only used one of the shimmers, but just from the feel of these, I'm kind of like, these are just gonna be okay for me. And while I was like excited to see this first row of shimmers, this is not something that I would use in the everyday. And like, even when I like swatched this shade, this Redondo Beach shade, it's like, ooh, that feels smushy and glittery at the same time. I don't know that that's gonna be my jam. So what that means is that to get my value out of this palette, it needs to be that these mattes just seem super delicious for me, and the shimmers can be like easy pops. And I didn't love the mattes. I didn't love the mattes. I did use even more of that Sepulveda Boulevard on my lower lash line, and I was still just kind of like, okay, like, eh. So I'm honestly really disappointed in this palette. And that's just from me knowing my makeup preferences. And again, I hadn't tried Adept. I was hoping this was a good way to try it, because I was going to get other products as well if I didn't like the eyeshadow formulas. I just was expecting maybe not 8 eyeliners. So a little bit of a disappointment for me. I will probably do one other look with this palette, and maybe I'll be eating my words. Hey lovelies, just wanted to hop on and show you the second look that I have done with this Adept palette. I tried to obviously, you know, showcase more of the mattes that I hadn't used and go ahead and throw a shimmer on the lid. So just to give you a few thoughts quick, I struggled again with these mattes. I just feel like they get patchy pretty quick. I did go ahead and use the Urban Decay Eden Primer because I wanted to see if this would crease less, because that last look that I did, even though it was just mattes, it really creased. So I thought, well, maybe that was the concealer I'd used. So we'll see how this wears throughout the day, but it definitely, the deeper like warm shade that I have on, it really was quite patchy, and it just was really hard to get a smooth blend on. I'm just kind of struggling with these mattes. The shimmer that I used is very pretty. This is just the highlight that I used on my cheeks, because there really isn't anything that I wanted to use for a highlight. That is one thing that I'm finding, is like, I just don't find this to be a super cohesive color story. For me, like that, there's that red in there. I don't know what I'm gonna pair the red with. It was just kind of a struggle. So I just wanted to give you a second look at what I created with this palette. It's still not my favorite, so I just wanted to give you the thoughts, and I'll probably leave a note as to how this wore throughout the day. Perhaps, but I have a feeling I won't be keeping this in my collection. I will probably either be throwing it up on Mercari or trying to find a friend who would enjoy it. It's just so-so for me. So that's a bit of a disappointment. Will I purchase from Adept again? Perhaps. I don't see myself doing it anytime soon though. Now, if you have tried Adept before and you got this mystery palette, let me know how you feel about the formulas in here compared to the ones in the other Adept palettes. I would just be curious. Like I said, this was my first Adept purchase, and so far it's not like steering me into wanting to try more from the brand. Now, let's get a little bit more into the positives. Devinah very rarely lets me down, so let's go ahead and do the swatch party of the things I picked up. All right, a little mini Devinah swatch party here. So if you are not new to my channel, you will know that Devinah is definitely one of my favorite eyeshadow brands. Not only do I love the shifty shimmers, the sparkly things, I think that the mattes are a really great formula. So like I said, I did pick up a little bit of both of those in my little order when I picked up the Winter of the Wicked bundle. And when they were launching this bundle, it came with a complimentary 9-pan little palette, and you got to pick either the holographic or black, I think. And I just thought that this holographic was really cute. So if you're not aware, this is not all new shades. There are a couple new mattes in here, but some of these are pre-existing shades. So when I show you the swatches, I will denote that to you, but I'm gonna give you a little look here at these shades. I mean, this is definitely like Ice Queen, Frosty Moment. I am not one to wear a lot of blue looks, but when Deandra was wearing all the blues, I was like, dang, that looks really good. And so I was like, you know what, I just need to get these. And there were a couple shades in here that I really wanted to snag. So I just decided the bundle was worth it for me. So I did go ahead and pick these up. So I'm gonna swatch these for you. I'll let you know which are the new shades, and then we'll go into the rest of my order. All right, I zoomed you in nice and close so you can see these beautiful shades. So here they all are. I should have tried to like space them a little bit closer, so maybe I'd have room for the rest of the swatch party, but that's okay. So as I'd mentioned, 3 of these shades are new, and I will denote those as we go through. So we have Plated, which is this beautiful kind of like platinum silver shade. And then we have 347. So this one is from the Laveau collection. You can see here, it's this beautiful like blue, purple, almost like a little bit of teal in there. It has a bit of sparkle to it. I really do like that one. You can definitely see it's got like a lot of like grungy shift. It has almost like not a black base, but almost more of like a grungy gray base to it. So then the next shade is Raven's Frost. That is a new shade. It is a gray that almost leans a little bit blue teal in the undertone of it, but it's definitely gray. It just has that like little whisper. The next one is also a new one. That's Ice Drop. You can see if you build it up, you can get a very, very like popping like frosty blue, or you can sheer it out and have it just be a little bit more subtle to blend out some of these other shades. Then the next one after that is the shade Grunge. This is one that is not new, but I can't believe I didn't have it. It is like a charcoal gray, like something that's just like softer than black, but still has a lot of intensity to it. This next one is like, holy crap, amazing. Mirror Lake. This shade is like, it's what I call power blue. I've always had this like, almost that like, what is it? Like that cornflower blue, but like more electrified, not quite indigo. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so, so pretty. This next one is a shade that I had on my list at one point, and I wasn't sure if I would get a lot of use out of it because I don't use purples a lot, but this was a great time to pick it up. That's the shade Inara there. And then this sort of like silvery blue is Cupid. And you can see here, like Plated is definitely more of that like true platinum, almost more of like a neutral silver, whereas Cupid is that blue with that like silver lean. I don't know how much I'll use this one, but we will see. And then this last one is Midnight. And Midnight I thought was a fun addition to this. It leans a little bit more into the tealy green, very, very dusky, like if charcoal and the deepest haunted forest had a baby. If that makes any sense. So I'm really excited to try this out. I'm sure I'll be doing a look on Instagram soon. I can't wait. I actually thought, ooh, I've got these earrings in today. These are the earrings from my recent polish pickup. I think this might have been January's polish pickup, but these are from Zara, like Zara jewelry. Let's see, like, let me see here. Zara jewelry, yeah. So I did pick up another pair to put into a giveaway soon, by the way, because I just thought that these were so, so cute. I talked about this on Instagram, but I will link this jewelry creator down below. But I thought, ooh, pair these earrings with like a frosty look. I think that would be great. So I might have to do that in the future. So that is the Winter of the Wicked bundle. Did you pick this one up? Do you have any of these shades? I'm telling you, like, look at that. Look how intense that color is. It is so freaking pretty. I didn't think that I needed all of these shades. I will say probably like, this is the one. This Cupid shade is maybe the one that I won't get a lot of use out of, but when I was like doing the math and I'm like, well, for the bundle price and all of that, and you get the palette, I'm like, I just went for it. I got the whole thing. So now let's see what else I got. All right, so now getting into the rest of my order, and I'm just realizing that the autofocus on my camera was probably on my face that whole last time. So I hope that the swatches came out all right and you could see them okay. Luckily, I did take some camera footage or some phone footage, so maybe I will insert that if didn't go right. Anyway, so the rest of my order. So this first one is actually a shade that I already had, but it's part of a bundle that I purchased this time because I wanted the rest of the shades in this bundle because I love this one so much. This is Thalassic, and you can see it's this somewhat translucent multi-chrome. It's very sheer and ethereal, yet grungy at the same time. It's got that almost like brown mahogany base to it, and it's just so, so pretty. And then the next one is one that I just used in a look. It's probably on Instagram right now. This is Livius. So Livius is a, I would say like silvery teal with a beautiful like golden, green golden shift to it. And then the next shade here is Furly. Furly, you can see, is this beautiful bright, I don't know, just really saturated, not quite neon teal green. It's so pretty. And then that matte is Viridian. That's a beautiful, like true grass green matte. A lot of the mattes that I have from Devinah are more grungy, so I wanted something that's that more like bright green. Then these next two here, I don't know if you can see, they are very close. The undertone is just a bit different. So the top one is Ethereal and the bottom is Frisson. And Ethereal is just a bit more, I would say almost like slightly purpley leaning, whereas the one underneath it is slightly more neutral, like it's a neutral gray taupe. Yeah, I probably didn't need both of these, but now I have them. And then the next shade, this really nice, I mean, look, you can see that shift right here. Look, this is part of the Multi-Chrome Madness bundle, along with Thalassic up here. I will point them all out to you, but you get, I think it's 5 shades, and right now they're on sale for $25. It's crazy, $25 for these beautiful 5 shades. So this one, again, it's not the, these shades are not that like foily sort of multi-chrome, but they're beautiful. They're like a soft formula and just so pretty. So that one again is Pavoline, and it really is that like purple into almost like periwinkle blue. So pretty. This next one, if I can turn here so you can see the shift there. It goes from like a warm coppery red into a beautiful like berry tone. That is the shade Amacity. And again, that's in the multi-chrome bundle as well, the multi-chrome Madness bundle. And then we have these shades over here, and I tried to get these close together because these two are somewhat similar. So then we have Corey on the top, and this is just a beautiful shimmer. It's not, for some reason, it's having a hard time picking it up, probably because the light isn't up, but I want you to be able to see the multi-chrome shift. So that is just a warm pink shimmer. It's pretty basic, but I've worn it as an inner corner shade and it's really pretty. So then the next one is Alara. That is a newer shade from Devinah. It's this beautiful kind of like dusty red, almost, you know, like that like earthy clay, but red. I actually used this shade in my recent BYOP Viva Magenta palette. And then these two here are the last two in that Multi-Chrome Madness bundle. You have Gallus and Nakarat. So let me see if I can get these. So you can see the shift is a bit different there. You have Gallus on the top, which has it's like a copper orange leaning pink, and then Nakarat on the bottom is more like orange leaning red. I think you can see that there. And then the bottom shade is one that I have had, used, loved, accidentally broke it, and that is Karma. That is the Blackest Black. It is very beautiful, very saturated. I mean, look, you can see that. So this is what I got, but you can see, so this top shade, Thalassic, and then these two shades right here, and then the other two shifty shades on here are the ones that come in the Multi-Chrome Madness. It was originally $40, and right now it's on sale for $25, and it is in stock. I just checked. So if you want some soft, beautiful, easy to wear multi-chromes, especially if you have like some texture on your lids, I think these would look lovely, gorgeous. They go on really nicely. You can put them over the top of other colors. Like I think Thalassic, like I said, this one is the most sheer of the bunch. Let me see if I can like build that one up. I didn't try to do that. You can see, I mean, maybe you'll be able to see. It's just that, I mean, again, it's like sort of one of those like, you know, blue, brown, green pigments, but it is just so beautiful. Yeah, it builds up a little bit, but it is more translucent. I just had to share those with you. Now, I do have a code with Devinah. It is Keep Beauty Real, and it will save you 20%. I think on bundles, bundles that are already discounted, I don't think it counts. There are a few exclusions, but if, let's say, any of these mattes you want to pick up or you have some other things you want to look at that will save you some money, it's not affiliated. You just know I love the brand and I'm happy to help you save some money. Okay, so that is my recent Devinah purchase. Let me know if there's anything that you want to see me use from this upcoming. Like I said, I'll have to use the Winter of the Wicked bundle. You know, it's tipping into spring now, so I'm like, ooh, I should do a blue look before I feel like it's like sort of like past its prime in the season. Not that you can't wear whatever the heck you want whenever you want, and I could see some of those like poppy blues being fun for spring, but to me blue is just more of a winter thing. Anyway, now let's get into investigating with those Nomad shimmers. All right, let's dig into this Nomad investigation. I don't know if anyone has like done an update, because I know, like I said, the brand offered to send out shimmers, but I don't know if anybody actually did like a swatch update, kind of letting everybody know. I'm that person. I'm that person where I want to know, so I just hope that this helps some of you. I do want to actually showcase some of these singles anyway, because Nomad is offering, I think, all of the shades from the collections as singles. I mean, not from previous, but they do have some as they go forward. If you just wanted to pick out a few of the shades, they do have that. So I want to show you how those come as well. But the palette. So when I used this palette, I used these two shimmers right here. And I know that they were saying that primarily these were the two that people were complaining about and saying that they were super hard pressed, that they were getting hard pan. I definitely had that experience. I actually wasn't expecting them to send every single shimmer, but they did, which I appreciate. So we will go through and swatch all of those, but I wanted to show you how they come, because let me tell you, this has got to be the most beautiful singles packaging I have ever seen. Like, wow. So we have, and I mean, just the attention to detail, it's incredible. So this is like a mimic of the palette. So you have, and I didn't pay that close of attention, but I do think that the ones that were on the love side of the palette came in this, and then the ones that were on the death side came in these. Is this not like so pretty? Like, I feel guilty like recycling these. I'm like, they're so cute. They're just so cute. And then on the inside, they had, they were in these little like holders. Now I will say these definitely are like super nice little holders. They have a little extra like well that the shadow sits into, so it's very secure. I will say that I noticed, maybe you'll be able to see that, hopefully. So you can see that oil came through. That's always a little bit worrying, because I'm just wondering, if these are like an extra, I have not touched any of them yet, but I'm wondering if they're like an extra oily formula now so that they aren't so like hard. And if so, does that mean that they're not going to perform on personally my eyes as well? Because that tends to just lead to creasing in my hooded eyes. Or does this mean that over time some of that might dissipate and then I'm left with a hard shadow again? But time will only tell as far as that goes. But I have had a few brands where that has happened, and not that I've necessarily had that problem, but it was just something that I noticed. Every single pan had that sort of like oily seep out. But this is so pretty, isn't it? I just can't believe the attention to detail. Nomad definitely kills it with their packaging. Like, it is just so special, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant. I'm so hesitant to try to like pop out the shimmers in this palette and like put in the new one. So that was part of why I wanted to like see the before and after of these new singles to see if they really do perform better, if it's worth doing that. I might decide to just keep them in a separate palette, and if I need to, I can pull them out with this palette. I'm just like, I don't want to destroy this because it is so beautiful. They did offer, honestly, they did offer to send me a whole new palette, and I was like, please don't do that. That is above and beyond. It would be wasteful, because then I'd have this one. So I didn't need to do that. But anyway, let's go ahead. I'm just going to swatch these side by side and we can talk about it together. All right, taking a look here, we have the one that was originally in the palette and then the single that Nomad sent me. So the first set are Cupid, Romeo, and Comedy. And then here we have Morse, Juliet, and Tragedy. So I just wanted to give you a look. They do look very similar, I feel like. And I will say, when I'm doing swatches, I do try to have pretty realistic swatches. I didn't like grind my finger in there crazy. I don't do like multiple passes. This was like maybe 2 passes and, you know, an average swipe in the pan. So I just wanted to show you all these. I feel like they do look quite similar. The only things I do feel like this one looks a bit different, like in tone and maybe in the saturation of the shimmers. You'll have to let me know what you think. Now I'm going to talk to you about the formula and the way that the pans performed. All right, now that we've gotten to see all the shimmers, I just want to talk about my initial feel. So, and I apologize, I did not clean out this little palette before I popped these shades in. I probably should have. But I do want to say, first of all, that the singles are stamped with the Nomad N embossing, but they don't have the original embossing. Like this one here, the blue shade Juliet had the broken heart in it, and it is just the regular Nomad N. I don't know if that matters to you. It doesn't necessarily matter to me so much because once the palette has been used a bit, the embossing is gone anyway, but I did just want to say that. So the other thing that I do want to say is I feel like I can already tell there that top shade, that top like kind of lavendery shade Cupid, to me that is already getting hard pan. And that's just from one swatch. The rest don't look too bad. I did feel like the Moors shade, this one here, is verging on that as well. I was a little bit nervous about that. So what I'm going to say about these is, while I do feel like on initial swipe that perhaps they won't hard pan as easily, other than that Cupid shade. I feel like it's very close to the same. They all performed the same. You're not gonna get any more bam out of them, other than this one. I do feel like that's a little bit different. Is that just me? But the rest of them look the same. So if you were disappointed in the performance of them, that is not gonna change. If it's more the hard panning, you do potentially run the ability to not have that quite so much in these singles. Like my Romeo in my palette is super hard panned. I didn't feel like quite as much like I was gonna get that from this one. Here is what I would say is don't use your fingers. And there are a lot of different formulas where it's like, it's really not good to use your fingers in a shimmer. It tends to hard pan them. Not all of them are that way, but this I feel like is one of those formulas. However, these are also hard to pick up on a brush. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a toothy brush. So this is the MAC 283. Let me just show you. It does have like a toothier feel on the end of it, and it's fairly firm. Not crazy firm, but fairly firm. So like trying to pick up this Cupid shade. Maybe I should have tried this before I stuck my finger in it, but like trying to pick it up, it doesn't pick up on the bristles. It's almost like me using it as like a spatula. And I mean, now I will say my skin right now is really dry, but like I just tried to apply that with a brush. You might not be able to see that, but there's like a little like lump and it isn't spreading out there. You can probably see it right there. So there's that one. I'm just gonna go right into another one of these shades. The other shade that I found was a little bit concerning was Juliet. So I'm like in here, I guess I should show you just so you can see. I'm kind of like trying to like dig and scoop. And I mean, that's what I'm getting from this. Like, that's it. So it's a little disappointing. I don't feel like all of the Nomad palettes are like that. Like right here, I have Whistler Snow Lodge. I don't really feel like that's how they all are. Like, look, I mean, this beautiful shade, this is Whistler. I'll do that. I'm like contaminating, but it's not about the color. It's about like the way that this swatches. So I did a finger swatch and a brush swatch. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking for out of these. And that's obviously like no wet brush. So that's what I want to get out of their shimmers. And I feel like the America's Parks palette, I love the shimmers in that too. I know that Nomad has kind of like flipped around, like they sort of like showcase a different oil in the shimmers. At least they've done that in other palettes. Like it's a little bit different every time. And I wish that they just like stick to one formula so that it's, so people know what they're getting. You know, they know what to expect and they know that that's the way that it's going to be. Other than like, you know, a new formula that they were maybe to have, like their little iridescent multi-chrome that they did. That's a totally different formula. But I think that their standard shimmers should just be like one formula, the best of the best, and just keep it the way it is so that people know what to expect when they purchase from this brand. That's my honest thoughts. I am so thankful to Nomad for adding me to their PR. I hope I don't get like immediately kicked off, but you all know that I've really loved the palettes that I've purchased, really, truly have. The mattes in this palette, as far as I've used, have been very beautiful. That look that I did from this side, it stayed bright and vibrant all day long. Like I got home 10 hours later and I was like, looks just as good as it started. It's just a struggle because I don't think you should use your fingers in these shimmers, but I also don't think that they pick up well with a brush. It's a conundrum. So that's my thoughts on that. I hope that that helped. I do have to say, as a singles lover, I appreciate that the brand is trying out the option to purchase singles, because if you weren't looking to get the entire palette, especially because some of Nomad's palettes have gotten a little bit bigger with more colors in them, so maybe you don't feel like you need that whole color story, or maybe you just like are drooling over a couple of the matte shades and you want to pick those out. I like the fact that they're having that as an option. I hope that they keep it. I'm sure for a small brand, it's really going to depend on the purchase level of those singles, so I don't know if they'll keep it around forever, but I really appreciate it. I definitely think, you know, there have been times where there have been color stories that I'm like, that whole color story isn't the vibe for me, but maybe there were a couple shades I was like, ooh, I'd love to have that. I would definitely consider purchasing. And I loved the packaging. They did such a great job on that. All right, I think I've been rambly. This is probably gonna be a pretty long video and I wanted it to be somewhat concise, but thank you for going down this indie makeup road with me. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? But truly, I hope you all know that I'm not someone to pull the punches. I really do try to keep it real here on my channel, and I hope you've enjoyed. That's gonna be it for today, and I will see you really soon.